Good afternoon, I am William Theo and this is PTV News Now. Tops on our news leaderboard at this hour, the President inks a piece of preferred legislation. It is a priority bill of this administration as designated by the Legislative Executive Development Council or LEDAC. And earlier today, the President inked this priority piece of legislation in a ceremonial signing in Malacanang. Republic Act 12024, otherwise known as the Self-Reliant Defense Posture Revitalization Act, seeks to ensure an adequate inventory and stockpile of the military's armor and weaponry through increased manufacturing and/or production of arms and military hardware. The just signed law also seeks to grant preference to locally owned factories or manufacturers on development, servicing, and operation of such hardware or weaponry. And barely 2 weeks have passed since Tropical Cyclone Helene ravaged the southeastern United States and left a trail of devastation and ruin across 4 states, and a more powerful storm is poised to hit Tampa and the western part of the Florida Panhandle in 48 hours. Hurricane Milton has reached Category 5 strength and was tracked some 1,300 miles southwest of Tampa, packing winds of 174 miles per hour and moving at a lazy speed of 15 miles per hour. Milton, which turned into a powerful storm on Sunday, is forecast to make landfall in the western part of Florida Wednesday morning or Thursday evening Manila time. For his part, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, 51 of Florida's 67 counties under a state of calamity warning. The storm's major impacts, with the storm surges reaching 15 to 20 feet and more than double of those of Hurricane Helene. As such, several counties have received mandatory evacuation orders, with more expected to follow. Tampa Mayor Jane Castor also weighed in, but with a more serious and dire tone, urging her constituents to evacuate and not tough it out with Milton, saying doing so is betting against Mother Nature, who wins 100% all the time. An even scarier message and Facebook post by the Taylor County Sheriff pleaded to those who refuse to evacuate to write their names and personal information with a permanent marker on their arms or legs for identification purposes in the event their bodies are found floating or lifeless after the storm. Beirut and the border towns of Lebanon in the south have turned into a no-man's land as Israel continues to pound them into a pulp with bombs and missile strikes from the air. Hence, with flights out of Beirut airport being canceled and ticket prices going through the roof, a Turkish port has turned into the escape route of choice out of Lebanon. VOA's Honor Erdogan has more.
The port town of Taşucu in Turkey's Mersin province has seen an unusual surge of passengers from Lebanon who are fleeing Israeli assaults and rising tensions. Ferry officials say the vessels brought more than 600 passengers from Tripoli last week, raising the total number of recent arrivals to about 1,300, compared to an average of 50 people over the same period of time. With many flights out of Lebanon cancelled and prices soaring, the ferry service has become a way for many to flee the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel in Lebanon.
There are no flights, and those still exist are way too expensive. It is around $900. That's why I came via sea. It's also a little expensive, but there's nothing I can do.
We came today from the vessel from port of Tripoli, so I can catch a flight back to Ghana, where I work. We've been there for 7 years. The trip was our first time. It was a good experience. It was hectic. It was a long trip, 12 hours.
After 2 weeks of Israeli airstrikes and a ground invasion and Hezbollah rocket attacks on Israel, hundreds of thousands of people are being forced to leave Lebanon. The national carrier Middle East Airlines was the only remaining commercial airline operating in the country as of Thursday, according to the U.S. State Department. Some here are worried that another wave of refugees will enter Turkey, which already hosts more than 3.5 million people, one of the largest refugee populations in the world. The CEO of the ferry line in Taşucu, Ali Toror, says some refugees say they will return home as soon as possible.
After the latest developments, after Israel's bombings, airlines decided not to send their airplanes to Beirut airport because of security concerns.
But with attacks continuing and the conflict widening in the region, it is far from certain how soon the refugees will be able to safely return home. For Onur Erdoğan in Mersin, Turkey, Bejan Hamdard, VOA News.
And that is a wrap for this afternoon show. Join us again later on for the evening news break edition, and stay connected by keeping it here for news you can count on. I am William Theo, and thank you for watching PTV News Now.